The Giants did make a stop in Detroit this week to finish a suspended series from much earlier in the season, where the third game was unable to be played due to inclement weather. The Tigers were able to come away with a victory and thus a very odd sweep of the Giants. Lasted about 3 months. Like I said, Turk Skubal on his way back from injury, looking solid again. Can't go very deep into games, which is frustrating for me because he's on my fantasy team and I'm not getting quality starts out of him soon enough. But as I mentioned earlier, Skubal and the relief staff combined for 15 strikeouts. Your Giants. So that was a little bit of a happy moment in a otherwise really mediocre week for the Tigers. They started out this past weekend series at home against the Padres, who we've kind of made fun of quite a bit over this season, and they look like they might be getting right, or maybe they're just getting right because they're playing the Tigers. They beat the Tigers 2 out of 3 games. Their offense looks as scary. It's about as scary as an offense as I've seen since Tigers played Texas. That's a run scoring machine. And if the Padres are indeed turning it on, I think there might be a little bit of nervousness out there in the NL West. The California invasion continued this week with the arrival of the LA Angels into Detroit, who won the game Tuesday night. Tuesday was actually a really fucked up night. Tried to tune into the game. Big technical difficulties graphic was on the screen, and I could barely hear, but the announcers, the regular TV announcers, were almost inaudibly coming through my speakers. Sounded like they were both sharing like an old flip phone, or maybe a walkie-talkie, and no video for the game. And luckily I could hear enough where they said we had a power outage with all of the television trucks. So the Angels feed was down as well. So it wasn't a power outage in the stadium. It was, they had the pitch clocks working, and I believe most of the scoreboard functioning was there, but there was just no video for the game. So trying to listen to the game and this horrible audio. Eventually they did get a little bit of video. They had like the center field camera came in, and then, there'd be a base hit and they'd try to like zoom over to where the ball was going. But that was so disorienting and dizzying. They just stopped doing that. So you kind of didn't know what was happening if the announcer didn't tell you exactly where the ball went. Eventually they started adding a few more camera angles so you could kind of understand what was going on. But eventually I lost interest in general, frustrated by the broadcast, but also that the Tigers were down 6-2 in the 9th. To which point they actually led to a furious comeback to actually tie the game in the bottom of the 9th. Just a hilarious play where Torkelson hit a deep ball. It looked like it was out of the ballpark off the bat, but it ended up dropping on the warning track as the Angels center fielder spun around like 3 different times and just let it fall. Unfortunately, of course, the Tigers blew it in the 10th, so the 9th inning comeback was for naught. Last night, the game was suspended due to very inclement weather. We had some bad storms that came through. Pretty dicey here in Lansing, but it got really bad in southeast Michigan. So I wasn't surprised they had to postpone that game to a doubleheader today. And that's where everything got interesting, because after the Angels announced that Ohtani was no longer on the market, and later on that they had traded for Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez, they also announced that Shohei Ohtani would be pitching today, which he was not supposed to pitch in this series at all. He was going to pitch Friday in Toronto. But he pitched the first leg of the no-hitter, or the doubleheader today, almost had a no-hitter. He had the one-hit complete game shutout. Just a masterful performance. Second game, he had, like I said, he had the 2 home runs, 3 RBI. I didn't even see what the final score was. Probably 10-4, I think was it. But just a frustrating week, and certainly that series for the Tigers.
Word Hole Media.